Hello, good evening. Thank you for being here 1 week before Eid, the big vacation coming up. Thank you for your time and your attention to a great event, a great topic we're going to be discussing today, which is about Generation Z, Gen Z or Zoomers. We're going to talk about and with them. So before I kick off this, let me introduce myself. My name is Eleni Kitra. And the one thing you need to know about me is that I'm a member of the club, of Capital Club, and I'm co-chairing the business transformational leaders for the club. And I could not do that without considering that there's a generation that we very much talk about them, but we don't include them. We don't do a lot of things with them. So a couple of things before we start is that Gen Z is a generation that's going to be 1/3 of the population, the workforce by 2030. They're the most digital savvy generation at the moment across the world. They are the most diverse and inclusive generation because they come from very different nationalities and from across the world. They really believe into transparency, and their belief into what is about ethics and set of values is very high. They talk about mental health. It's important to them because they have been through difficult times with financial instability, with COVID, with financial crisis in 2008. So it's a generation which has so much information in their hands and so much potential, but somehow we don't seem to understand them very well. So today what we're going to do is meet them. I have a great range of age groups here from 16 to 26, and we will give them the time, the place, and the opportunity to speak up for themselves in the way they want. So no formal conversation here. It's going to be coming more from their heart and from what they believe in. And with that, I would like to welcome Aleix, Rosie, Ali, and Hana, who is out in Egypt for today's conversation. So we're going to run a few questions together, and then we're going to open up to you in the case you want to ask them anything from your side. How does it sound? Good? Are we good? Okay, thank you. So with that, I would like to ask them to introduce themselves in a simple way. So we'll start with Aleix, with you.
Sure. Nice to meet you all. My name is Aleix. I'm 16 years old. I'm from Spain, Barcelona. Pretty much to summarize my very long life, I call myself a traveler. I love to travel. I've lived in South Africa, Barcelona for 2 weeks when I was born. And Dubai for the majority of my life. And I visited multiple countries, but more on the entrepreneur side. When I was 7 years old, I started my first startup. I was selling design pencils in school to my friends, and that had a lot of exit. I'm officially making it professional at that, and to making a few other startups with a few of my colleagues and friends from school. And the fun fact is, I like to play football, as you mentioned.
Okay.
So yeah.
Great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rosalyn, and I'm a second-year finance student at Westford University College. I also work as client relations at Halliday Group. I love traveling as well, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I've lived here my entire life. I'm 21 years old, and a fun fact about me would be I enjoy public speaking. That is something I truly, truly hold very close to my heart, and I'm also a TEDx speaker. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, from 16 to 21. So Ali, over to you.
Hi, I'm Ali. I have an undergrad in engineering, and I'm now getting a master's degree in digital marketing. I work in social media management, and I am 25 years old, and I hold the dual nationality of Syrian and British, which is a weird combo. And I've lived on and off in Dubai for a large period of my life.
Thank you, Ali. And Hana, can you hear us very well? We're good?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
So hi, my name is Hana. I'm currently a product manager at EMBD, Before that, I was in telecom. And a fun fact about me is that I'm also on the side, I'm a health coach. So I took a certificate from integrative nutrition, and I like to do that on the side. And that's about me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hana. Welcome all. So nice. I'm 2 to 3 times your age, but I will not reveal my age. And probably you've traveled to more places than myself in my longer time. And with that, I would like to start with you, Hana, because we all think that you're a very different generation. But we would like to understand, how do you see this kind of difference between the other generation, and especially with millennials, which was actually the generation we're talking a lot about them before you came up. So, Hana, what are the differences or the similarities between you and the previous generation that we've been talking so much in the past years?
So I think what is similar, that I think with every generation, and since time has begun, is that a little bit changes, and with every generation they have a certain mentality that's a little bit different from the generation before. I think that's the similarity. I think a big difference is that we had, for example, COVID, and we had a lot more social media and exposure. So from all parts of the world, like even someone who hasn't even traveled their whole lives, you can't say that they're closed off to the other parts of the world. So it's more been like, now everyone is connected, which was not the case before. So which got us a lot more aware, and has the advantage of being a lot more exposed than the generations before them.
Okay. Someone who wants to add on that?
Well, more of a storyline I have here. My grandfather was a baby boomer, I believe it's called, and that's pretty much the generation that post-war.
Yeah.
So after one of the large wars of World War II, he experienced it, and their norms and their lifestyle was completely different to the millennials and then to Gen Z that I experience on the daily basis. And the difference is pretty simple. They are very centric on one thing. My grandfather was a baker his whole life, from 18 to when he retired, and my dad was a bit more open. The millennial was a bit more open to traveling, to experiences. And then, as I've already explained a bit, I'm completely different. I'm an action-based person. I'm forward, and so it's a weird shift on how the generations have passed.
I want to discuss about that, but I will come to you, Alan. I know you want to talk about that.
I think the lifetime goals are much, much different. I think everybody is obviously motivated by money and title and stuff, but I think that holds less significance for Gen Z. I can see that in my friends. They're going for the jobs which offer more remote work, which offer flexibility, which offer mental health days, as opposed to a giant salary that's gonna like break me in 2 years and like we have to take a large like vacation to recover and stuff. The priorities are much more different. I can feel that with my friends and with the people who are actually younger than me.
We'll go into that because we want to see how your priorities can be part of the strategy of companies in order to help to make the companies be able to attract you, to be talents within the company. But at the same time, the way you are shaping the future of industries, which some of them are very old cut, some of them are into the transformation phase, and some of them are just coming up right now. Rosie.
Yeah, just to add to what Ali mentioned, I feel like personally as well, it's more than the salary part of a job. It's more about the personal development that we care about and how this would kind of help us grow ourselves, the kind of experience that the job offers, more than the salary that's offered. So I think is one of the main differences between the previous generations and our generation.
Yeah.
We look more towards what the job could offer us in terms of non-financial benefits as well.
Okay. But I will make a question to you, which we didn't discuss this so much before. So money doesn't have any kind of interest to you?
It does.
It does.
But I think when you're especially if you're entry level, just a fresh graduate or on the younger side, usually you don't have much leverage or bargaining power when it comes to money. Especially for entry level jobs, usually they're capped at a minimum that you can't. Where you can actually bargain is, do I get to work from home? Do I get to do my side business? Do I get to like have other obligations? Where can I see myself after 1 year or 2 years, as opposed to negotiating salary, which usually is very, as I said, very capped as an entry-level job.
So you're trying to put other qualitative factors in order to negotiate or make a different kind of contract with a company you're going to be working, or whatever you want to do, maybe work on your own, than just pure money, which is a number, which is not easily to change this. But I will put another layer here, because I was reading actually this morning, and this is a topic that is being discussed a lot, that my generation, maybe the generation of your grandfather, were very much relying on themselves to be able to be independent. When your generation, and I'm not trying to generalize, but your generation, you are relying enough on your parents in order to support you, at least financially, or, by giving you, the opportunity even to meet with people or to identify what you want to do in life. That's why you get sometimes gap years. We didn't think about getting gap years in my age. Is this also a reason for you that the money doesn't come as a priority?
Yeah, I do think that plays a huge role in it, because as of now, I'm working at a job which is merely for experience and not the salary. But that's because I know that I have someone to fall back on, right? So yeah, that is a huge factor, I would believe so.
Hana, what do you think? You are the older of all of them. So what do you think? Because you've been into the phases from student to working and then doing other things as well.
Yes, I think definitely having the support of your family is very, very important. I think that kind of gives you the flexibility in the beginning to kind of have those years where you're like, okay, I'm not completely need to figure it out. But I think also at some point you kind of also still feel like I understand that we say, oh yeah, we can have money, is not important, but at the end of the day it is. And at the end of the day, so maybe we do take a smaller salary, but if you put it as a package, if I'm getting to work from home and I'm getting to have more time, for example, freelancing, so my overall package is better than I would if I had to pay transportation and I had to pay different things as well. Yeah. So I do believe that is an advantage, but I only think it will go so far after the first few years.
Okay. I will make you a question here which has two parts. And I will make the question because I have also kids which are Gen Z. And I always feel, and also in front of you, I always feel that, am I going to say the right thing? Because I know you're going to outsmart me completely, okay? I'm all in front of you. Let's say these people here, they're companies. They're people who would like to get you on their business, or you're pitching for an idea as an entrepreneur. What do you think is your number one quality you can pitch for that, which you can actually make things change and transform the business or add value? And the one thing that's a weakness of yours. And this can be completely subjective. This can be out of what you've seen around you. Don't try to make it too complicated, but I would like to see, what do you think is your one great thing and one thing that you haven't really built on that? Who wants to start? Alex, I'll start with you because you're the youngest one. You're going to say no.
Well, I think our generation has a big role to fill in the future of the generations to come. Mm-hmm. And from what we've experienced, we have a lot of knowledge and technology and in understanding personal level with people, understanding people personally. And I think that's a very strong benefit that Gen Z can really, that it's a very good quality that most of the people that I like to surround myself with from my generation will try and strengthen and will try and build on through their high school years, through their college years, and for like onwards. But on the other hand, a limitation could definitely be their emotions. I feel like the generation is a bit weak when it comes to their ability in their social awareness is very strong. But when it comes to their like strength in terms of how let's say someone speaks to me and maybe I'm offended when someone tells me my job is not well done, then that might be a bit weak in terms of that mental
How are you going to be managing that?
But I have experienced that, and I think it's a somewhat balance in the emotional side that maybe the generation.
Okay, I'll take that. Who wants to add on that?
I agree completely. Like, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Some people are offended by women's equality. Some people are offended by sustainability. It doesn't mean that's like a really good, he like touched on a really good point.
Okay.
And for the positive side or the quality, we are like, especially being a student here in Dubai, we have a very privileged, outlook, since we have like 50 classmates and probably all of them are from mixed nationalities. So you have a very wide like perspective, as opposed to, at least my parents, for example, they lived in a country most of their lives. Like most of the people they know are from the same nationality. And I think that's not location specific, because even if you live in like a small town in a country nobody's heard of, you're gaming with people who are from all over the place. You're taking classes online with people from different. So I think the global citizen idea, which was like heavily researched before, is now becoming a real reality now.
It is. I'll take that. Hana?
I completely agree that with that maybe our generation has become a bit more sensitive, and especially like nowadays, it's very difficult to pick the right terminology sometimes, because sometimes a lot of things are offensive from different countries and from different people. I completely agree with that. I think our greatest strong suit is that obviously we're a lot more tech savvy, we're a lot more exposed. But I think what might be a weakness is that just because you're exposed doesn't mean you have experience.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, people who have had more experience will always be able to give a sort of insight into getting those ideas and how to actually make them into action.
Okay. I like the other element of other people, other generations coming with you, and we need to find a way to bridge the gap, at least in communication, before we go into collaboration. Rosie?
Yes. So I think the most positive quality of this generation would be that we're quite adaptable, since we've seen so many things, like you mentioned, the economic crisis in 2008 and the COVID, where we had to go in online classes overnight. Seeing so many things happen, we've become quite adaptable to changes. And I feel like nowadays businesses are very dynamic thanks to the technological advancements that are happening all day, every day. And we're able to grasp things easily, and changes don't really, derail us as per. But one weakness, and I don't really know if that's a weakness for us, as for the recruiters, I think for employers would be that we are constantly on the lookout for how can this improve us as a person, right? So if you're at a job, let's say at an internship, and we see that, hey, this is not really adding any more benefit to us, switch.
Yeah.
I think that could be kind of like a weakness for our employees, but I don't really know if that's for us.
I hear from companies, they find it difficult to communicate with your generation, not because you have been overpraised, but because they don't know how to approach you, how to make you work with or for them, how to help you and how to inspire you.
And I've seen a lot of benefit. It's like when there are teams that consist of like a senior editor who is 50 or 60 and has the experience and writing skills and words and etc., working with someone who's basically, let's say, very good at TikTok or very good at Instagram. Like they both benefit. The young person will learn some of the editor's writing skills and like publishing skills, and the new technology won't seem so foreign to the senior person, as opposed to having the senior person try to do TikTok where it's not something that interests him at all, or have like the young staffer try to fully edit and publish an article on his own. Like working in pairs or like small teams.
Okay.
I think that really helps.
I'm an action-based person.
Yeah.
Meaning, if there's something that drives me and interests me, I will do all in my power to push to get that and to reach the goal that I'm looking for. But it goes the other way. Again, a liability that some Gen Z might find. if something doesn't interest them so much, it might be a liability. They might be a bit lazy. That's why what he was talking about, group work, collaboration, where, as you were saying, an editor and maybe a social media person could collaborate to join strengths and unify.
The new generation sometimes don't have patience, and they have, that donkey work that they just don't want to do, so it kind of looks like they're lazy and so on. And I think maybe if there's sort of like an agreement where you have, for example, some percentage of your time where you can actually be creative, and the other one where you have, for example, that these are the tasks that you would have to do, and you would have to understand that in every job there's going to be some part of it that you like and some part of it that you don't. But the issue is when you're not communicating, so then it turns out then that no parts of the job that you like, that's where the issue comes.
So my question is, right? What is your expectation for your first internship? Like, I really want to know.
Well, a few, maybe 2 weeks ago, I did a job shadowing program with Accenture. And I learned that it's a very tech-based, I don't know if it's all companies, but it's very tech-based and many hours are put in. And I eat a lot. So I'm going to need some breaks throughout, because one lunch break doesn't cut. I'm joking. I think it's something that I would have to get used to, of course. But it's really intriguing to see that lifestyle. But honestly, it's to guide me, It's more of the experience and what comes with that job title of whatever that may be.
Do you think that your generation is the spoiled and lucky ones? No, because I'm talking about I have a son.
Yeah,
He's 22 years old.
we
paid for his education. Everything has been given to him, and then it's like he's choosy, he's demanding.
Yeah.
Everything, really.
I get your point, but the thing is, we sometimes that's the argument that always happens. Like, okay, Gen Z are very privileged, and like our parents didn't have it as good as we did. Like, my parents are the same as you. Like, they basically paid for my education until now. Even though I have a job, they're still like paying for my master's degree because I can't afford it on my own.
You still stay with them?
No, but still, but like the thing is, how can we move on from that conversation?
Yeah.
I really don't have a specific answer, but that's what like a lot of conversation leads to. Like, we are privileged in many ways, but I don't know how we can like address that and move forward.
Is it going to be one job? Is it going to be multiple roles or multiple jobs with different, companies as a freelancer? I'm just curious, what is your ideal sort of role? I'd love to hear all your inputs.
Very nice.
I can start. So I was actually talking to one of my friends about this, and it actually varies between the generation. My friend said he's into tech and into digital experiences. I feel like I'm the complete opposite. I know it's very opposite to what my generation may be, but personally, I think face-to-face experiences, I've done panels online, and I'll tell you, this experience, this interaction is much more intrinsic and experience. It's a better experience for me, I believe, in person.
For me, I would eventually like to start my own like marketing firm, PR and communication firm, etc.
Yeah.
But for the time being, I would love to like have some stable agency work and then hopefully move to a brand or company, because I'd appreciate the like diverse experience you get from agency and freelancing before settling into like a corporate set job.
I would definitely want to open something on my own. I think that it's I still think that corporate at the end of the day will not give a meaningful purpose. I think you can self-develop, but it will always be into somebody else's company where it doesn't feel as human. And even if it's something small, I would really see the value in opening something on my own.
Thank you. Ali?
For the time being, as I said, like a stable job for the next foreseeable future. But I think our generation are very much aware that they should be looking for passive income opportunities, which I feel, again, comes from us having some privilege. A lot of people, you see them like, they call it hustling or whatever, but they are searching for opportunities to invest Some friends I know they're living with their parents still, but they've already bought a studio somewhere in the world and they're renting it out. So I don't think it's as black and white as entrepreneurship versus corporate. I think it's a mix of multiple income sources is what a lot of people have on their mind.
Okay. Rosie?
I would say obviously a stable job for the next couple of years at least. But I think it's pretty subjective to a lot of people in our generation. Yeah. It depends on whether you're someone who likes structure, someone who likes to just do what you've been given to do and just go back home. Yeah. Personally, I don't think I could take orders every day, all day long, 9 to 5. That is just not me. But yeah, like I mentioned, it's very subjective. It depends.
Very subjective.
Yeah.
Agree. Alex?
I think it's interesting because I've always told myself that I'm an entrepreneur, but as the days come, the corporate world, the experience that you get there, it's unmatched. So I believe it's a very generic answer we've all practically given.
Yeah.
A bit of corporate and then the movement. But it's interesting. I actually know a few two students that studied in Dubai, and they had pathways to Ivy Leagues, Oxfords, but they got accepted to these schools. But instead, they went on the entrepreneur route. They had a straight line of corporate, and they went entrepreneur route, the route of entrepreneurs, and now they have $1 billion valuation company in India.
Mine is not a question per se, but just a comment of my own experience. I'm an entrepreneur for 30 years. We have a lot of businesses in Africa, healthcare, and my first experience of your generation was so-called interview. Normally in interview, the interviewer asks the questions, like I ask questions, but they were asking me questions like, what do you stand for? What's your purpose? What are your what are the values you really believe in? And I was like, wow, this is somebody interviewing me rather than the other way around. And what I found the most amazing were questions like, how much vacation do you have? How much is the work-life balance? And work from home kind of thing. And then they said, how long will it take us to become the CEO of the company? And I was looking at the face. Very interesting experience. I would just say that, yes, process the world in completely different ways.
I want to understand, if you look at different periods of time, in the 60s, it was about, political movements. That's what the generation was about. In the 80s, it was greed is a good thing. Wall Street, the movie. Let's get some money. In the 90s, things changed. Maybe it was slightly similar. You saw the 2008 fiasco of what greed did to the world. So I'm trying to understand, is the fact that you're not so interested in money a reaction to greed? When you talk about money amongst your generation, how do you guys react to it? It's like, oh God, you shouldn't be talking about this. This is not very important. Personal experiences are more important. So that's my first question. How did you process that concept? That is, and is that why the hunger for money is not a big deal? So that's one of my questions.
Can I take that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, sure. But let me just finish mine.
Second question.
I hope you don't mind.
It's a longer one.
It's a long. Sorry, I don't. And 148 characters. The other thing was, I'm trying to understand the tolerance aspect. You talked about patience and tolerance, and when you say I don't have to take this 4-letter word and just walk away. This tolerance or this thing about I don't have to struggle to do this. Mm-hmm. What kind of struggle do you guys want to do exactly? Every generation wants to struggle in a different way. Is it intellectual? What is it exactly that you're trying to do? Who do you look up to? Who are your heroes?
Ali, you start. You said you're going to start.
A lot of questions. Okay. I think addressing the greed concept, the money never sleeps, and all of that. I think for me, at least personally, I feel like looking at examples from all over the place. Money up to a certain point is very good for a stable lifestyle, for healthcare, taking care of your parents, your children, etc. But I don't know, not everybody, I think, in our generation has the dream of being rich and owning Ferraris and owning that, because you see a lot of rich people who are honestly sad and they live they lead very. I know a lot of people who have a very CEO and CFO and CMO through a lot of freelancing, and they're not happy people. They have mental issues. So I feel as I said, money enough to take care of your family and yourself is appreciated and hopefully a goal for everyone. But not everybody wants to be a billionaire, at least from my perspective.
Okay.
Should I go? Who are our heroes?
Yeah.
That's a loaded question. I have a hero that's probably like not a lot of people know him. I love Steve Wozniak. I don't know if a lot of people know that. He's basically the brains of Apple, and Steve Jobs was the marketing, PR, and head personality. So I really have a tendency to favor the underdog people who are like just shy of being famous and public figures. So yeah, that's me.
And your struggle. We haven't heard about the struggle.
What's your ambition? What do you want to do? I guess the questions are for everybody.
Yeah, I know. Who else wants to add on that?
Well, I'll just go straight to the second part before I forget. My hero, I would say I have two. More on a personal level, on a personal level, it would be my father, my dad, as he, I could say, cracked the corporate world and now is phasing into the idea of health, cancer, this type of area. And then on the other hand, Jordan Peterson. He's a public speaker, and I find him very influential because he really inspires the masculine youth that the Gen Z is trying to build up, and I think he's a great influence.
Rosie, Hana?
Well, for me, if I were to say, my heroes are both my parents, both my mom and my dad, and the balance that came between the man and the woman, and also that everything they've done to get me to where I am today. Like, I understand that they always say, oh, Gen Z, they're so spoiled and everything. But I do see everything that my parents did to make me the person that I am. And that the next step would be to, like, they have pushed one level forward for me to do the same in my role into that society, to push one step further.
Okay.
Yeah, just to build on to what Hannah said, I think this privilege that we have, the so-called privilege that we told we have, it wouldn't be possible without our parents, obviously, because they've gone through a lot to get us where we are. And so it's thanks to them where we are today. And apart from that, the whole money concept comes into play only after we see that our personal development is taken care of, in terms of like, yes, this company is giving to me in an aspect of where I'm growing personally and in my mindset, other than just like financially. Once that stops, I think that's where the money aspect comes into play.
I'd like to ask you about communication, especially we're from the UK, and especially if you go out for an evening, you'd see a group of young people literally spending the whole evening on the mobiles and having quite little interaction apart from that and whatever. Also, I think, Alex, you mentioned that you now were enjoying face-to-face. The other point I'm making, which is all to do with communication, is you were all saying that you like working at home, but then how are you going to learn, which is what I did. I learned so much from business from my managing director, working directly with him. So to me, this question is on communication. Do you believe that mobile phones are still going to be massively existent?
It's interesting because I notice this often that, like, let's say, first period, sixth form in school. I walk into class, a group of people are sitting around each other, just on their phones, laying on their bags. Like, a group of people in this, they have so much in common. I'm sure they have so much to talk about. But instead, for all I know, they're texting each other that exact same thing they should be speaking about. It is an issue that may come across with the generation, and it also could be because we live in UAE and it's a very privileged society. But yeah, I do think it will be an issue. But me, personally, I'm gonna refrain from raising my children with iPads.
I think I might be the wrong person to answer because like I like reading books. I hate iPads. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the time. But to your point, I think even for me, for example, when I looked at people who are younger, who are like doing, I don't know if you've heard about Roblox or something. It's like this game the kids play all the time. When I look at the people who are much younger than me, I have the same feeling that you do when you see people on their phone all the time. So I think that generational divide will always be there. But I don't believe that the metaverse will take over and we'll all live in our living room forever, as people are saying. I think the human touch will always prevail. And I think we saw, at least in my like peers, a huge shift after the pandemic when everybody got fed up with like Zoom and Teams and whatever, and everybody wanted to go back to the office.
I believe about self-improvement and self-development. And at 16 years old, I think my commitment to myself would be to make myself the best version I can. And for my future life, I would like to make the world a better place. It's a very generic answer, but I would further down the line like to maybe go into, like my father went into recently, a more of a emotional and personal side of business.
Okay, thank you. Rosie, yes,
Let's see. At 21 years old. Okay. A commitment I would make to myself and to the rest of the society, the population that we have here, would be that I think collaboration would be better, communication would be better, because I feel like if we really understand each other, understand how we all work, we could really work in conjunction and do greater things than we're already doing.
Okay. Thank you, Rosie. Ali.
This is another generic answer, but I think everyone can do it. I think we should seriously actually consider being sustainable on a day-to-day basis. First, as people and as corporations, because I feel like a lot of corporations try to shift the blame onto us, the consumers, like you should do this, you should buy that. But a lot of things have to be done by the actual corporations, actual business leaders, and then us, the consumers. And I think Dubai is a great place to be for that, especially with the government hosting COP28 and a lot of green initiatives happening here. So yeah, just something food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Hana.
So my promise, I think, I don't know if everyone knows what imposter syndrome is.
Yes.
So imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're not in the place and that you're an imposter. And 80% of women feel like they're an imposter in the workforce. And my goal is to help pave the way that women no longer feel like they're imposters in the workplace and that they know that they have a place there. And it's so normal that nobody even knows what imposter syndrome is anymore. So just one step further into that.
Thank you, Hana. And thank you all four of you for the conversation today. Really, I feel I'm a better person today because of you. I mean that. I love your generation. And thank you for speaking from your heart and being polite and giving us more eloquent answers. And we rely on you. We know that we're stressing you out a lot. I know you have a lot of stress in your life. But we're here to be working together with you and make things work for both generations all the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.